Sometimes it doesn't feel like you're living your life. It feels like you're managing it, saying the right things, reacting the right way, staying composed, staying functional. From the outside, you look stable, responsible, maybe even impressive. But inside, something feels slightly disconnected, like you're playing a role instead of being yourself. You laugh when you're supposed to laugh. You stay calm when you're supposed to stay calm. You say, "I'm good," without checking if it's true. It's not that you're lying. You've just learned how to present a version of yourself that works, a version that avoids conflict, a version that keeps things smooth, a version that doesn't make other people uncomfortable. And slowly, that version becomes automatic. You become aware of how you're perceived. You monitor your tone, your reactions, your expressions. You think before you speak, not because you're thoughtful, but because you're careful. Careful not to be too emotional, too intense, too inconvenient. You adjust yourself in real time, sometimes without even noticing you're doing it. That's when life starts to feel rehearsed. You move through your day in modes: work mode, friend mode, family mode, polite mode, responsible mode, each one slightly different, each one acceptable, each one functional. But somewhere between those modes, you start wondering which one is actually you. Here's the part most people don't realize. Performing your life often begins as protection. Maybe being easygoing made things safer. Maybe being dependable earned approval. Maybe being quiet avoided tension. So you adapted. You became composed. You became measured. You became the person who doesn't create problems. And it worked. It helped you fit in. It helped you succeed. It helped you survive. The problem is, survival strategies don't switch off just because the danger is gone. So even when nothing is wrong, you still operate like you're being evaluated. You filter yourself. You choose the acceptable reaction instead of the honest one. You stay slightly guarded. And over time, the distance between who you are and who you present becomes harder to see, but easier to feel. That distance feels like a subtle emptiness, not because you're fake, not because you're pretending on purpose, but because constant self-monitoring disconnects you from spontaneity, and without spontaneity, life loses texture. It becomes controlled, predictable, safe, and quietly flat. You stop asking what you actually feel. You start asking what makes sense, what's appropriate, what keeps things stable. You become very good at functioning, very good at holding everything together, very good at being the steady one. But being steady is not the same as being alive. There's a specific kind of exhaustion that comes from performing stability. It's not physical, it's emotional. The effort of staying filtered, staying measured, staying slightly adjusted, even in rooms where no one is asking you to. Even when you're alone, you can feel that subtle control still there. And the strangest part is that people admire you for it. They call you mature, grounded, strong, reliable. And those compliments reinforce the role, because now your identity is attached to being the composed one, the capable one, the one who handles things. So you keep showing up that way, even when it costs you internally. Eventually, a quiet question appears. If I stopped managing myself so carefully, who would I be? That question feels uncomfortable because performing your life doesn't look toxic. It looks responsible. It looks adult. It looks like you have everything together. But stability without authenticity slowly drains color from your experience. You don't fall apart. You just stop feeling fully present. The shift doesn't start with a dramatic change. It starts with noticing. Noticing when you laugh, but it feels slightly forced. When you say yes, but mean maybe. When you say maybe, but mean no. When you stay quiet, not because you have nothing to say, but because saying it feels risky. Those small moments are where the performance lives. The opposite of performing isn't chaos. It's honesty. And honesty doesn't have to be loud. Sometimes it's simply admitting you're tired, or confused, or unsure. Sometimes it's pausing before giving the expected answer and checking what's actually true for you. That pause is where you begin to come back to yourself. You don't feel like you're performing your life because you're fake. You feel it because you adapted well. You learned how to function. You learned how to keep things smooth. You learned how to be acceptable. But somewhere along the way, you stopped checking whether you were also being real. If you can notice the performance, that means it isn't your identity, it's a habit. And habits can be unlearned. Slowly, gently, not by becoming someone else, but by giving yourself permission to be slightly less filtered than yesterday. You don't need to blow up your life, you just need moments where you're not acting in it.